Welcome. We're just going live. Welcome to this week's show, Beat Coronavirus and Thrive, with deep breathing, bouncing, positive thought. Who would have thought it? Well, what's new for this week? Looks like we just did another podcast a couple days ago, but I'm doubling up for the rest of the month, doing this here on Saturdays now. And I think people have a little bit more time. Some people have more time on Saturdays than they do Thursdays. So what's new for this week? You know, it's come to my attention, the University of Washington, Washington State University, one of the top medical schools in the country for many, many years, one of the top medical schools in the world, published a new study. And let's go ahead and do a little bit of a screen share with you, show you what I'm talking about. They're saying that, guess what? Boosting the immune system may be able to help with COVID-19. Wow, that's really exciting. Are you serious? Who would have thought that? So this has brought the conversation back to the immune system, which is the lymphatic system. And there are certain things that activate the lymphatic system. There are things that have nothing to do with activating the lymphatic system. Like, believe it or not, wearing a face mask or antisocial distancing, you know, we got to unmask the mask hypnosis again. They don't do anything to actually activate the lymphatic vessels or boost your immune system. In fact, deep breathing, that's the topic of today, the main topic, as well as bouncing and positive thinking combined with those things. Those really do, boom, activate lymph flow. And I'm gonna share some fun slides with you. Some of you may find this to be new. Others have been following me for quite some time. But we're going to have some fun with this. First of all, the go-to slide, what I usually like to share, what I spent most of my time with on all my presentations that I've ever given, is right here. The go-to slide. This is health versus disease. Believe it or not, there's a healthy terrain. There's something that's been known as that, healthy terrain theory. There's the healthy environment of the cells is there on the left, and it actually is just enough fluid to fill the spaces. It is actually a sub-pressure environment, whereas on the right, positive pressure blowout. And guess what? Deep breathing activates the vessels on the bottom, which are your lymphatic vessels, and help boost your immune system by doing so, help recreate that healthy environment. Otherwise, with the disease environment, which all immunizations create, when babies are immunized, when they're born, they create positive pressure blowouts like that, especially throughout the lymph nodes, which are our filters. The bloodstream doesn't have those, but our lymphatic system does. And you have more lymph than blood, more lymph vessels than blood vessels. I get into that in previous episodes. But the main thing for you to understand is that inflammation, that swelling, whatever you want to call it, every single itis is inflammation. And it's all the same. It's trapped albumin, which is the main blood protein, is the water magnet and the sodium magnet. You get excess fluid, excess sodium. That's what that means down at the very bottom, EXFL, EXNA, that's natrium, which is Latin for sodium. So that's excess fluid and excess sodium, lack of O2, which is oxygen. Most of us know that. A little bit of abbreviated scientific terminology for you. That spells sheer disease. Okay, that's a basic part of my father's basic formula for death. And the opposite of that, which you have on the left, is life. It's a health, because the cell's life process, it has to have glucose and oxygen. You have to have that for cells to work. And if you look over here on the left, there's a figure of a guy. This is an artist's illustration of the lymphatic system dumping into the bloodstream at the base of the neck. That's a subclavian vein on both sides of the neck. And as we take a deep breath, the lungs put pressure on the main largest lymphatic vessel, the thoracic duct. We call it the tree trunk. You can think of it as a tree system in the body. Branches going up in the head, roots going down in the feet, the tree trunk in the chest, and the peak of a deep breath makes it shoot like a geyser, like an oil well. It should be springing up into everlasting life with every deep breath you take, and no pill, no needle can do that for you. That's right. And if without the deep breathing, if wearing masks and antisocial distancing is encouraging people to be lazier or more docile, less physically active even, then what we have is a retarded lymphatic system as a result of that. If people are forced to stay indoors too much, where they don't get as much sunshine and fresh air, they don't have their life processes being turned on as naturally or as effectively. And if their thought processes are leading them into depression more and more while they're locked inside because of the literal, it's been called torture, okay, that people have been experiencing. And if you don't believe me, go check out the definitions of torture from one of the videos on that at maskhypnosis.com/links. You can go to the links page on maskhypnosis.com and find all kinds of information. It's not just about the masks in our face, but it's about unmasking all kinds of abuse in every aspect of our lives. But check this out. We have a little blood vessel on top with a little lymphatic vessel. Those are capillaries. They're right at the bed of the cells. You get what's called capillaries. That's where the real magic happens, because the bigger arteries and veins of the blood vessels just help deliver the blood to and from the capillaries. And at the capillary level, that's where those vessels are full of holes called capillary pores. And on the top of those, you can see the dissipation in and out. We have 3 quarts of water being pushed out within every 60 seconds. That whole 3 quarts go through the whole bloodstream, and it pushes out in and out 80 times within those 60 seconds. Let me say this again. Within every 60 seconds, you have the 3 quarts in the bloodstream gets pushed through the bloodstream, through all the vessels. It circulates through the whole system every 60 seconds. And within those 60 seconds, it dissipates in and out of these capillary pores 80 times. Within about every beat of the heart, what that fluid is in the bloodstream, it gets pushed out with every beat of the heart. And when it happens over on the healthy side, it actually shoots all the way across, right? That's to bring the dissolved minerals, nutrients to the cells. Now, on the disease side, it doesn't matter what kind of oxygen or nutrients you have in the blood, because there's a distance problem. When that same fluid gets pushed out, it doesn't shoot all the way across because of the distance problem. Because there's already a positive pressure blowout pushing the cells further and further apart, and cells actually dehydrate in excess fluid, similar to what you have when you sit in a bathtub. I get into that with the subpressure aesthetics that some of the theories on that I actually developed. But what we want you to know is that environment, if it can be that simple, and how deep breathing works, well, we don't have a heart that beats for the lymphatic vessels. You got more of those vessels than you have blood vessels, and more lymph than blood. They not only parallel the blood capillaries, they also go up in between the cells, but they're transparent. It's like the clear fluid. It's invisible, naked to the human eye, makes it so you can't see those vessels with the naked eye. So if you've ever heard out of sight, out of mind, it makes it really interesting, but it's very easy to bury that research because of that. If you were to think of what kind of profit loss you would have if everybody knew all they need to do is be thinking positively, and not necessarily all you need to do, but the power of positive thinking combined with a deep breathing, that you're able to create all kinds of chemicals. The most powerful immune chemicals some of the most powerful ones we've ever discovered are produced just with laughing. Your deep breathing and thinking positively produces those chemicals. Laughter is a perfect example of that. Like the book called The Healing Power of Laughter was written by someone who had been told he had terminal cancer, that he was going to die. He didn't believe it. Anyway, that's a true story. So what we have is the power of this deep breathing. What we're doing by activating that thoracic duct there that you see is the largest vessel with the figure on the left, that you see looks like a man. And that deep breath, the lungs put pressure on that thoracic duct and make it shoot like a geyser. And this is mostly a one-way circulatory system, bringing the fluid and dumping it back in the bloodstream at the base of the neck and the subclavian vein on both sides. And without the deep breathing, we don't activate our lymphatic system enough to keep us alive. You lose the whole albumin content every 24 hours. And if not for the constant retrieval by the lymphatic vessels, it's not just the lack of oxygen that makes people die. It's the lack of lymph flow that creates a backup in the system. And there have been elders, Native American elders. By the way, I'm Native American through three of my four grandparents. I'm Native American. And some of the things the elders would do in some tribes, they'd go find a tree, and a tree stump put pressure at the base of the thoracic duct if they knew it was their time to die. And by morning, they would be dead if they would just breathe shallow and leaning over on the tree stump. It works for anybody who tries it. Not that I'm encouraging that, but when these elderly people would do this, they would do it knowing that it was their time, that they lived a full life, and if they tried to live longer, that they would be, suffering more and creating more of a burden on their tribe. So that's some of the thinking behind that. And I don't judge them for doing that. I think they may have had some wisdom involved with that. I like to look at both sides of every situation and look at the whole situation. And when I first learned about that, it really cut against the grain with a lot of what I've been taught. Some of you may also be feeling the same thing, cutting against the grain of, we're supposed to do everything we can to live as long as we can. And I don't know what these men are going through. I haven't reached that period in my life. I know that Canada has legalized assisted suicide for people who are ready to check out, where it really is their time, and where they would suffer a lot more if they tried to stick around longer. Anyway, they've legalized that. But it's interesting. It's not something we normally even talk about, the death aspect of how to die. But I think getting into this life is really simple. It's how we get out that's the big trick, and either we suffer or we don't. I think those are the main things, that no one's meant to suffer, and no one's meant to have this. I don't think no one's really, if they stay healthy and you're practicing the principles of health, and especially if you're younger, if you're not really reaped the ripe age as these elders that I'm talking about, where they know it's their time. If you want to go, it's hard to make you stay. If you want to stay, it's hard to make you leave. And if you want to stay, those are, there are options. This is the fact, is how simple is it to actually do deep breathing? And no needle can activate that thoracic duct like that. No pill can activate that thoracic duct. And why don't the politicians that we have, why haven't they shared this? Why hasn't the mainstream media been willing to talk about this more? They haven't really talked about it. And we're talking about at times like this, where, there is a danger to people's health, that they're saying that they need to take precautions. Why don't they talk about it? If they think coronavirus also may just be airborne. And I think that if the coronavirus is small enough to be airborne, which I believe it is, then the antibodies are definitely small enough to be airborne also. And what does having a damp mask on your face do to prevent the circulation of not just the virus, but the antibodies that have to do with the herd immunity? The truth is, we have more microbes in the air that we breathe than there is in the mud. Not everybody's very aware of that. The air is not as thin as it looks. It's rich. And most of those microbes are friendly microbes that we have a symbiotic relationship with, that we can't live without. a lot of those friendly microbes, the ones in the gut, the gut is where most of our immune system is. The whole thing is lined with lymph nodes. We have more lymph nodes there than anywhere else in the body. And those white blood cells and lymphocytes that are housed within those lymph nodes primarily to help act as the filters they are, they're there to purify everything that comes through. As long as they work the way that they're supposed to, they can totally eradicate all the harmful viruses, bacteria, everything. And it's the friendly flora, the friendly bacteria that helps with that communication, without which they can't even recognize the good guys from the bad guys. It's part of how they work. That's why we have just as many friendly flora that line the digestive tract as there are a total number of human cells in our body. And this ties back into what the deep breathing is doing. There is something called breatharianism. And I think one of the reasons, part of the science that supports that is the fact that people are deep breathing. They're not just bringing in the oxygen, they're activating their lymphatic vessels. They're bringing in the friendly flora. There's a lot more to it than most people can see if we don't take the time and help them see what they don't see, which, and helping people see what they don't see, literally sometimes people will write down things that have happened in history, like what happened with Christ, with the blind man who he put mud on his eyes. That's what people could see. In my opinion, most of what happened with that event was unseen. And I also do an instant mass healing as part of my introductions that I've been doing. Most of what happens there when I close my eyes and I do it, I'm not touching anyone. I'm here in Kihei in Maui, Hawaii. And I've been doing the broadcasts from wherever I am since this COVID-19 thing happened. I was in San Diego initially doing it. But here I am, I'll be doing this in about another 5 or 10 minutes for you here, those of you who stick around. And everyone who taps in, who's willing to be open to this will receive it. I give people their free agency. If you give me a green light, then you'll definitely get the instant mass healing from me that I'm doing today. It's pretty simple. I'm transferring well over 2 hours worth of conscious data within just a moment. And that is, basically instantly. So part of what's happening is, there's so much positive thinking, positive thought that's gone into that programming. It's just about all of it is scripted. Definitely needs to be, because how else can I transfer it within a split second if I haven't created a script for that? So there's the subconscious does work much more quickly than our conscious mind. And I think that our media has been taking advantage of that in a negative way, how powerful and how easy it is to hypnotize people. Not everybody knows that education, training, and hypnosis are actually the same thing, that they're all the same. And it's what you do and how you use it for. If you're using it in a negative way, you're manipulative. If you're in a positive way, you're empowering people, right? So everything that I've done within my programming, I really believe in making it all positive, 100%, not doing anything at all manipulative, because I believe that it's also interconnected to what you're receiving spiritually and the team that ends up being around you. If you're empowering people, I believe you have higher realm beings helping you do that. If you're disempowering people, I believe it's all inseparable, that you have lower realm beings helping you do that. So I think everything is interconnected personally, that it's time for us to make the positive shift. There's a lot of talk about people having an uprising. Let's make it an empowerment uprising. I built a system. I could have called it the laws of empowerment, laws of ascension, transcendence of all negativity, but it's the laws of empowerment. You can get access to that from maskhypnosis.com. Let me just send you to that website because it's easier. And also you can get it through ZeroDisease.com. If you click on the links tab from there, you'll get access to all kinds of links. But so Zero Disease also gives you access to my events. And I'm actually charging $50, and I don't turn anybody away, regardless of financial circumstances. If people get in touch with me soon enough, we can work it out to you forget about what you can't do financially and focus on what you can afford comfortably. And we work things out. We don't turn anybody away. Just forget about what you can't do. Focus on what you can. If you're able to do that, then I can help you. If you're not able to do that, I can't probably help you. But it's not everybody's able to do that. So get your egos out of the way. I actually do a class that's, I charge $50, but if it's in my opinion, it's the most important deep breathing technique for situations like what we're in today. And there's lots of different types of deep breathing programs out there, Body Flex, Oxysize. Some of those cost even more than what I'm charging. People have lost weight, gotten rid of all kinds of health issues just with deep breathing alone. Yet we know it's not just the deep breathing, it's everything else that's going on when people are deep breathing. It's literally activating their lymphatic vessels in a way that nothing else can do. You know, the next thing I like to teach about is how bouncing also activates the lymphatic system dynamically. It's one of the reasons why when a baby cries, the mother bounces it. Those one-way check valves there at the bottom that you're looking at, the whole lymphatic vessels are lined with one-way check valves, and it's a one-way, for the most part, circulatory system towards the heart. Dumps back, like I said, brings the fluid up through the thoracic duct, dumps it right back in the bloodstream at the base of the neck, the subclavian vein on both sides. And the bouncing, what it does, those one-way check valves, the whole lymph vessels are lined with. At the bottom, they close, and at the top, they open and push fluid through a little bit at a time. So the deep breathing and bouncing are the things for you today that combine that with positive thought, because they both also magnify thought wave. And how many of our Aboriginal cultures have gotten around a fire and been deep breathing and bouncing while they're empowering their prayer, their positive affirmations and their meditations? How many, even Yogi Bhajan, who popularized Kundalini yoga in the United States, not the first person who brought it here, but he popularized it. Yogi Bhajan ended up doing all his meditating on a mini trampoline when he found out how powerful it was to magnify thought wave. You've got magnetic fields going around the earth, and when your body moves up and down through those, it creates an armature effect. That's the first thing my father saw when he saw a mini trampoline in the mid-70s. And my father came up with the theory himself, but it's something that's been done by Aboriginal cultures. My father was Native American through both of his parents, and turns out I'm Native American through both of mine. And anyway, I get another lineage tapping through my mother's mother. So fun to be related to someone who is nicknamed Pocahontas, and that wasn't her real name. Pocahontas actually means like spoiled child or naughty one. It was could have been a term of an endearment from her father. She was the favored daughter of Powhatan, who was the chief of chiefs. For lack of a better word, he could be recognized as a king also for that part of the land. He was chief of over 30 different chiefs, over 30 different tribes in the area around Jamestown, where Jamestown was settled. So, but yeah, Pocahontas' real name is Matwaka. So there you go, a little bit about me. And, you know, Native Americans believe that your hair is also connected to your intuitive ability. They view the hair as antennas. Whether that is true or not, there's something to the hair. You look at even the Samson story in the Bible, there was something to it for him. So there are some people who may, you know, some people prefer to have their hair short. I've had my hair short plenty of times in my life, and during this period, here it is as long as it's probably ever been. But proud to be Native American. I'm also part Mongolian, evidently, through the Alexander blood that came through Mongolia. So it looks like I may be related not just to Alexander the Great through my Alexander side, but it's possible Genghis Khan even. But who knows? They did a lot of the similar things that I stand for And believe it or not, those people in that land view Genghis Khan as one of the world's greatest peace leaders that's ever lived, the way he helped create peace. That's exactly what the intentions were for Alexander the Great. Was everything that he was doing was to help unify and help create world peace. There was a lot of blood that was spilt during that period, but I don't think it's necessary to do it those ways. Ataturk is someone who did it for Turkey. Anytime they vote for who their greatest world peace leader has been, he gets their vote. They don't bother to ask them anymore. Not everyone knows, but he was pretty smart, helped revolutionize their math, English, their letter system, their military strategies, all kinds of different things. It's kind of as if he was like a higher realm being that was sent here just to help them. They've been so strong, they've never been conquered. With all the battles of wars that they've been right in the middle of for centuries, they've never been conquered. So I think there's something to say about that. Anyway, there's a lot of that you can get if you'll dive into the Zero Disease class. That lays the scientific foundation. And I'm giving you a little bit of that here, but I don't have time to give as much as I'd like to because of our time limit. And if you get into the Zero Disease class, it's taken 40 years to script what we put into 2 hours to take people out of the medical dark ages. And what you're seeing here, even talking about the albumin that leaves every 24 hours and how we bring it back in the blood by deep breathing and bouncing and helping out with positive thought helps with that too. If you know the right types of thought, you can turn on your endocrine glands, which they call chakras in India and the 7 houses in China. It's one of the reasons why I'm able to create instant mass healing the way that I do with what I'm about ready to demonstrate for you in about another 5 minutes or so here. Is that instant mass healing is created because we're creating programming we're sending you that turns on endocrine glands, starts producing all the energy that those produce instantly, whether you know that that's what happens or not. I don't have to explain it. It's not something, I don't need to do anything on a conscious level at all. I've been in front of all kinds of audiences, tested this all kinds of ways, but I do have a little bit of programming built into it that this is for people, even on a subconscious level, planetary, who are willing to give me the green light. And on a subconscious level, if they don't, then I respect that. Everyone has their freedom of choice. And, real masters don't give the very best of what they know to people who just don't want it. So I'm dangling the carrot. I'm dangling the carrot for my next event, which starts at the top of the hour here in Hawaii. That would be 1 o'clock. In California, it would be 4 o'clock. East Coast, 7 o'clock in New York. So I think it's a good time for me to be doing this particular time, my time. And, it doesn't take a real Einstein to make use of the lungs. We all have a set of lungs. The point is to start activating them. And it doesn't cost anything to take a deep breath. And when you do, at the peak of a deep breath, it really makes that thoracic duct shoot like the geyser. Should be shooting like your internal fountain of youth, should be getting activated with every deep breath that you take. And I've been calling it that. Secrets of the Internal Fountain of Youth is a little series that I've done on YouTube. I'm going to be adding this to that series that I've been doing for years. It also belongs in that playlist. There's several different playlists from the Zero Disease YouTube channel. It's also called Clarity University YouTube channel. That's what the name is that you'll see there. But youtube.com/Zero Disease will get you straight to that. These are also usually uploaded there as well. It's live streamed on Facebook right now. And we're having some fun with some edutainment. So let's do this. So everyone, if you were able to, unless you're driving or doing something else you're not able to, take a deep breath. Let it out. If you took a really deep breath and let it out, I don't have to guarantee it. We know your thoracic duct just shot like a geyser. And there are certain physical things that will happen from that. We don't have to guarantee it. We know it. you're helping from there create subpressure throughout the rest of the vessels. You're helping pull out inflammation throughout your entire system just by deep breathing. As simple as that. And what I'm about ready to teach next is much more advanced. It's really designed to help people expand their lung capacity much more, as well as help eliminate if their lungs are filling up with congestion of any kind. The type of congestion they're getting typically with COVID tends to be more of a pneumonia effect. An asthma effect, which is where the lung sacs are dehydrating instead of seeing so much fluid build up. And it doesn't matter, it's still trapped blood proteins with excess fluid, just like the pruning effect in the hands when you get in a tub for too long. It's part of subpressure aesthetics, whether you're having the cells dehydrate literally in excess fluid. So it depends what type of tissue you're having that happen in and how that tissue responds to that inflammation. Some tissue dehydrate easier than others. Or even red blood cells will pancake and flatten out. As they pancake and flatten, they stack on top of each other. That's part of the thickening of blood. These are things that most people don't know. It's a lot of science. I'm not going to go into any more technicalities, but as simple as deep breathing and bouncing and having fun with it, laughing with it even here and there. That's super awesome because laughter is the opposite of anger, and you can get a lot of healing for the liver from that as well, which we're gonna do another class after the top of the next hour. After this one we do on healing, the power heal breath with the deep breathing is the top of this hour. The next hour is Race for the Truth. It's on mini trampolines, and we're having a blast basically bouncing off the walls to activate everything on a conscious level. What I do data transfer here in just a minute or two, I'm going to do that. Instant mass healing for everyone. We'll take and break down on a conscious level, and we'll do it while we're bouncing for those of you who have many trampolines, or you can just do it sitting in a chair, laying in a bed with a deep breathing alone. If someone is on their deathbed, we don't take them right from their deathbed on a mini trampoline. There's all kinds of safety laws that we lay out for everybody, like the laws of transition. So we understand how to avoid cleansing reactions. We've basically been around long enough to figure out what the main thing, what the basics are here, at least. And whatever anybody does with any of this is up to them. I'm going to show you a couple other slides here real quick. There's, let's do this real quick before I forget. I always have to show this slide because it covers me legally. Because the type of doctor I am, I'm a doctor kind of doctor. Someone asks me if I'm an MD, I say, I'm not an MD, I'm a PMD, Doctor of Preventive Medicine. And that's non-licensed actually, which is good because the word doctor comes from its Latin origin, means teacher. And this material I'm presenting is for educational purposes only. Nothing that would normally require a license, such as diagnosing or prescribing or treatment of disease. I'm here educating you, and whatever you do with it is up to you. Because of the nature of discoveries, anyone who uses any information taught herein must do as a result of his or her own free agency. I do like to demonstrate healing techniques, and that's also for your education. Whatever benefit of healing you get, that is a major bonus, and you're welcome. So with that, I'm going to offer that instant mass healing now. And I like to deep breathe also. You're welcome to do that with me. And if you're in a space where you can even close your eyes and tap more into what is being broadcast from me. Okay. Some people actually feel a bit of a buzz, like electrical buzz from that. And this happened, it is now 12:37 p.m. Hawaii time, 3:37 p.m. California time, 6:37 p.m. New York. I did this from Kihei, which is in Maui. And, but approximately 2000 South Kihei Road. I'm right on the corner there. So, congratulations for taking another step out of the medical dark ages. Believe it or not, they don't teach these things in medical school. Doctors simply, what we've found, our experience has been they can't teach people how to activate their own lymphatic vessels without losing their license, typically. That is, if they're, it's not on the list of things they're able to do by any insurance company of all the insurance-run hospitals. And if doctors try to do anything that's not on their protocols, they get their license taken away. And not that breath therapy is not on the list when it comes to certain things, because it is. They have, and it's one of the, one of the benefits, but it's for a different reason. It's not, they're not teaching that for the purposes of activating lymphatics, for one. And, people who get shot in the chest, there's all kinds of different reasons why they might bring one of those things in that shows you how much lung strength someone has, and to help exercise their lungs. So not that breath therapy has not been part of the curriculum at all, but how many doctors specifically teach people how to activate their lymphatic vessels with it and what that's about? To really pull out the excess albumin that keeps leaking around the cells. The fact is we lose the whole albumin content every 24 hours, and they're still taught Starling's hypothesis, which says that doesn't happen at all. None of the albumin leaves. And if any does, it doesn't change the theory. That theory is from the 1800s. If you want to know more about that, check out the Zero Disease class or some of my previous episodes, which I've covered that. Right now, again, it doesn't cost anything to deep breathe. And my next class, if you're going to be doing something as a matter of your practice to really get the most out of your lungs, especially if you want to prevent the pneumonia-like effects or even the asthma. Several of my students have eliminated the symptoms of asthma completely, many years doing that. There's reasons for that. Another thing that we know is there's doctors standing up saying hormone therapy from asthma that's been used for over 40 years has helped with their patients, reduce inflammation, it's helped keep people out of the hospitals. So the doctor who is announcing that is also at maskhypnosis.com. Check out the links page there. And they're saying take zinc because zinc helps boost the immune system. Well, I'm on the Nerve 2 activation product I'm on. I know all three ingredients in it. They are all helping bring zinc into my cells. That's something that we know scientifically about that product. So these are some of the things that it not only does that, you're also directly targeting what the virus has to have to attach to the ACE2 receptor site. We're inhibiting that protein. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call this a wrap. A little bit, give you about almost 20 minutes to prepare for that next class. Have a beautiful day. Lots of things happening out there. If we're doing a stand-up revolt, one of the things you can do is just share the information that hasn't been allowed to be taught even in medical school. That's something that's revolutionary in a time like this. So have a beautiful day. Aloha from Hawaii.